right. So this is my first time doing it on location, actually.
The setup is amazing.
Yeah.
Really impressive. Congrats.
No, it's cool to be here in your space. We're going to hear where we are, because today I'm sitting here with Seva Granik, a nightlife visionary, cultural architect, creative director of QNCC, most importantly, a promoter. He's a promoter of culture, of people. So did I forget anything?
A husband.
A husband.
Yeah, big job, yeah.
Wow.
And that's the most fun one, yeah.
Yeah. Who's the lucky person you're married to?
I'm married to Dr. K. Gabriel, writer, poet, activist, labor organizer. Most fabulous woman in town.
Amazing. But are you actually an ally, or are you like part of the LGBT community?
I'm straight. An integral part, I should like to think. I guess that makes me an ally.
Yeah. Well, great. We love allies. Yeah. Where are you from?
I'm from Brooklyn. I grew up here in town. I am an immigrant. I was not born in the United States. My family and I came here from Uzbekistan in the early 90s.
Oh, wow. What was that like when you first came here?
Wild. In fact, my family and I landed not too far away from here, which is a strange coincidence, a full circle moment. We were housed in the project, actually, by the then Republican administration.
Okay.
I should say, the George W. Bush Sr.
Okay. So you came here during the Bush years.
Yeah, and we were handed green cards, food stamps, welfare, housing temporarily, which is sadly no longer the case for refugees.
Yeah.
And it's funny to note that there was the Republican administration back in the day that was doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
It was not too far away from here that we first landed, and my dad and I were taking walks up and down Pennsylvania Avenue in 1991.
Wow.
Getting our minds blown.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Was it really different than back home? Like what did it mean for you to then be here?
Uzbekistan being a double landlocked country, really a provincial backwater, as far away from here probably as you could be. This was really different.
Yeah.
This was a cultural shock, a big deal, yeah.
What's like the first time that should I call it like underground? Like, how do you see it when we're going to talk about what you do? What would you call it?
Dance parties, that's really my thing, I guess, my expertise. That's a corner that I painted myself into over the last 20 years.
20 years, really?
Yeah.
Like, what did it look and feel like when you just started? Like the first time you were ever at an event?
I had no idea what I was doing. I was clueless about safety. I had no idea about bookings. I didn't know anything about music. Still, to a large extent, I really don't. I was just tearing through opportunities, possibilities, people, staffing. I was acting very arrogantly and disrespectfully to a lot of it. I was just a novice, and somehow things were working out. It was 2005, 2007, and I was just... You could rent a warehouse in Williamsburg for $500 and cops wouldn't give a shit.
Oh, really?
And you just did whatever you wanted. Massive block parties were going down in Bushwick in the early 2000s. Buildings would be on fire. We'd have demolition parties, and
nobody cared.
No.
Wow.
Just the authorities didn't give a fuck. Which people did whatever they wanted. It was really a different world back then.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
So what's the first time that you were like, okay, this is my world? Was it a certain moment?
I was not prepared for that question. Let me think.
Or a person?
Claiming ownership of something like that is my world. I would not have been comfortable with having said something like that until this event series that someone named Lady Fag and I started back in 2013 was well on its way and established and successful. That thing was called Shade. By then, having seen it explode onto the scene in 2013, 2014, I think that's probably when I thought, okay, now we've arrived and things are happening in alignment with my vision of what should be happening in New York.
And what was that at that moment? Your vision of like, how did you want to be disruptive?
I back then was enamored, really obsessed with Berlin.
Okay.
I'd gotten into Berghain on accident in 2007 and had my mind blown there. I just could not really. I spent months trying to wrap my head around what had just happened because nothing in New York had prepared me for that experience. There was no way for me to contextualize that experience within New York City. There was just simply no comparison. And I came away from Berlin struggling to think about how could something like this not only happen in New York, but just happen, period. How could you blow a hole in reality so big and so wide into some other dimension? How could a building like this exist? So I started flying to Berlin on my own and getting in and just crawling all over the building, thinking that there was something about, of course, there was something about the building.
What do you mean something about the building?
There's something magical about that building. I still maintain that locale is very unusual. There's some strange things go down there, or strange things have happened to me that never really happened anywhere else in the world.
Like what? Could you name anything?
A vortex has happened to me several times. I was able to break through the current number of dimensions that we find ourselves in and just go into other worlds. I've never been able to do that in other places, except maybe one party called No Way Back in Detroit, but a different beast. There's something crazy about that building. Right, to get back to what I was saying earlier, I was so taken aback by that experience, so shocked. It took me a while to process, to contextualize what happened there, and to try to think about bringing that experience to New York without realizing that what had happened in Berlin and what they got going in Berlin in early to mid 90s, they actually picked up in New York.
Really?
And in Detroit. Yeah, this is just the reverberations of what America actually spawned and started.
Yeah, because a lot of people always say that the techno dance party scene comes from Europe and comes from Berlin, but
I roll. We invented it.
Yeah,
America, wake up.
so is that a paradox? What?
It's a very unfortunate disconnect that exists between kids who are obsessed with the Berlinification of all things and the reality, which is that techno, house music are so deeply American. Raving is deeply American. I hate to use the R word, but that dance music, period, is a queer American invention and Detroitian, Chicagoan invention, a New York invention as well. And most things, if not all things, that Berlin had picked up on, they saw and experienced in New York.
Wow. And what else is like a difference between like the European dance scene and the American dance scene?
It's let me think about it in PR terms. I'm just typically a really honest person, so this is gonna be difficult.
I like that.
Yeah,
Me
yeah,
too.
yeah.
You could just say
I'm gonna
it.
edit myself on the fly.
Yeah.
It is Europe is just so much further from Detroit, the source, both physically and emotionally, that some things, not all things, there are a lot of people, institutions, schools of thought that not only pay a lot of respect to the source, but derive much of their work from it. Some things had gotten away and went on to do their own thing, and that's okay. To me personally, a lot of dissonance occurs when I hear the distance from the source. And it usually manifests itself in me not being able to dance to it, which is a visceral reaction. I couldn't write a 1,500 word paper on it to you. I can either, I'm gonna dance to something or I'm just not.
Yeah.
My body's gonna move or it won't. And it's difficult to say
Why it does or why it doesn't.
you're just, it's molecular level stuff.
Yeah. Do you think it also has something to do with like America and New York, especially, is such a melting pot of different cultures?
European musical traditions, the Western musical traditions, go centuries back,
Yeah.
and they're a thing of their own, and not that they clash necessarily with Afro-Latin traditions that gave birth to things like jazz and rock and roll and house and techno, and some of these things that came out of the meetings of the two traditions are
Yeah.
fabulous, and some are not so fabulous. I just love, after some time, starting to pay attention to the American traditions of in-dance music. That's where my body viscerally has been really pulling me in terms of what I like to hear on the dance floor.
Okay. And what are those traditions?
American house, American techno.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of European techno that I also respond to very, very enthusiastically, viscerally. That usually happens when, just speaking for myself,
Yeah.
when the producers, the DJs are attuned to the American traditions. I don't know why that happens. I'm still struggling to explain what's going on there, but it is magical.
Yeah.
It is really fascinating.
Yeah. Why did nightlife here start like in basements, on piers, in warehouses?
Here in New York,
Yeah. Did they?
I was working on another project in early 2000s that was actually a corporate. I was part of a business, and I was entrusted with producing events. And coming from punk metal, underground metal roots, which is what I grew up here in Brooklyn as a high schooler,
Mm-hmm.
I was just not a big fan of clubs and all that sort of stuff. I was just always leaning more towards punkier shit,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I was always really fascinated with, let's do, what about a basement? What about this abandoned building? What about this church? Or I was also deeply influenced by some other promoters and event organizers that were doing things here in New York in the early 2000s. And I kind of absorbed some of the things that I liked about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I left out some of the things that I didn't agree with. And just here I am.
Here you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you didn't like the commercial clubs. You were more underground.
It didn't feel, what clubs do is they're just businesses. They're in the business of making money.
Mm-hmm.
They're also in the business of protecting their business, protecting their liquor licenses. It was difficult for me to convince venues and clubs in my early days to do things that I wanted to do because
Because it was cool.
they weren't interested in repurposing the room, rearranging lighting, rearranging sound. They weren't interested in installations, or often they weren't interested in the kinds of crowds that I brought out. It became painfully clear early on that I needed to find my own spaces. I was also at the same time attending a lot of underground events that weren't dance necessarily, that were just like underground punk, DIY, rock stuff. There's this guy, Todd P., in town who I'm sure a lot of people will remember. He used to do a lot of underground stuff way out in Queens and Brooklyn. There'll be like some stinky basement with like a bucket in the corner for guys to piss in.
Mm-hmm.
And I would come out to these locations and be like, wow, this space is cool. Not sure about the production value, but it's awesome that we get pulled into these abandoned, derelict spaces because the feeling, the moment of discovery of something forbidden, illegal, underground, the secret ingredient is crime. You know that meme?
No, tell me.
There's this hilarious meme. You could definitely look it up.
Yeah.
It's,
We'll flash it on.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's why underground raves cooler than clubs. And the secret ingredient is crime.
Yeah.
You're breaking the law.
Yeah.
So trespassing, invading abandoned, shuttered buildings is just always so much more fun. Kids love that.
Yeah.
Why would you want to go to a club that you've been to 1,000 times when you can go to some incredible, possibly dangerous, but hopefully not, space and have an experience with your friends that you probably couldn't replicate anywhere else?
Is unique.
I just wanted to have fun, and that wasn't really fun actually early on because a lot of money was lost.
Why'd you lose money? Because it was
I had no idea what I was doing. The capacities of these things, some of the earlier shows that I put on, that I started, like actual underground DIY shows that I started doing 2008, 2009, capacities were small. I didn't understand production. I had trouble learning how to extract the resources from these things. It was just early days, and it would cost a lot more than these things actually generated.
Yeah, because nightlife always pushes boundaries, but like, what are the boundaries that you pushed more?
Legalities.
Oh, really?
Back in the day, yeah. Back then, it wasn't really pushing things because you could throw a warehouse party for 700 people, and people would be fucking and doing drugs and all kinds of stuff. And the fire department would come by, talk to your security, and fuck off. And you're just like, fine, everything's fine, officer. Great. The authorities didn't really seem to care.
No.
So back then, it didn't really feel like you were doing anything wrong. You were just doing things that many other people were doing because the underground in New York City had been pretty strong. A lot of stuff like that was happening. Especially in the straight scene. There were a lot of straight kids throwing underground parties. That doesn't really happen anymore. There was a thing called Black Market, which is pretty wild. Huge techno raves in mid-2000s, I think, or maybe late 2000s. The queer scene wasn't nowhere near that. I think early bunker shows were underground, and there were some queers there, but not too much. There was a lot of underground stuff happening. It was just easier, and rents were cheap.
Yeah, rents were cheap back then.
There was commercial real estate was cratering. You could get anything for any sorts of money, and because there was so much commercial real estate around Bushwick, Williamsburg, the owners weren't thinking about liability too much.
No.
Because nobody was already suing them back then for anything. Now, every warehouse or real estate owner, commercial real estate owner, is probably under like 5 or 10 lawsuits. So it's difficult to convince them to hand over a warehouse.
Yeah.
Even for $30,000, $40,000 a night.
So that probably changed it a lot.
I remember thinking I clearly recall lying in bed in my apartment thinking, wow, things are getting really difficult in terms of finding spaces. The year's 2007.
That's when it started to get difficult.
And every year since then, it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And at this point, it's most expensive and most difficult, I think. Not impossible, but complicated.
What about 2008? With the whole real estate thing?
Oh my God, so easy.
Yeah.
It was just, you could just spit and hit a warehouse that was available for a rave.
Yeah.
Thinking about it now, had I walked into that situation with some experience, I would have cleaned up.
Yeah, of course. I know always when we think back.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of things have changed, but do you still think it's cool, nightlife? Is it even cooler?
New York is popping. Yeah, it's cooler
really
than
is,
ever.
right?
It's cooler than ever. What we have now in New York, I am tired of hearing these naysayers talk about how cool New York was in the night. I was there in the 90s, girl. Like, it was okay. It was not that cool. We could probably stop romanticizing all those old clubs and all those old scenes. Things were interesting, and the club scene definitely got it. Like, large scale club scene definitely got its start in New York City with all of those legendary clubs like Club USA, Palladium, the Tunnel, Limelight. That was a huge explosion. But they were also standing on the shoulders of giants like Area, Studio 54 to an extent, Paradise Garage. There's just a long list of incredible New York City clubs.
Yeah.
That started, that gave the spark to the fire that took the world over.
What's better now compared to how it used to be?
What I personally appreciate about the current scene is how close all the promoters are, how everyone is in touch and friendly and collaborative and helpful to one another. Back in the 90s, promoters literally killed one another.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I could name names. It was crazy. You would literally get knifed in the neck by some promoter who hated you. I think we've come a long way. Even since immediately before, right after the pandemic, when people weren't literally at each other's throats, but trying to cancel one another for sure.
Yeah.
Things have changed for a lot better. And a lot of it, the credit for this, I would give to the underground scene, where a lot of this collaborative effort and spirit comes from.
Yeah, that's cool.
To an extent.
Yeah. Yeah, because everybody, of course, has their territory.
Yes. Yeah. There's some camps. I try to do everything I can to erase the lines between these camps. And that's the sort of vibe I try to put out there, that we don't need lines in the sand. It doesn't help anybody.
No.
And it's working.
Yeah.
It has been working.
Yeah. The craft of a good party. I've had the pleasure to go to some of your parties. What makes a party legendary, not just good? Like, what is the philosophy for you behind a good party?
I don't know.
Is that a tough one?
You just have to care. I just feel like you have to care. People who care most get the most out of it. I care painfully a lot, to a crazy extent.
The devil's in the detail.
It's difficult to compare levels of care. My highly subjective opinion would be to say that it's the care that you put in. It's how do you care about these kids' experiences? Do you care about what they think when they walk into the space? Do you care about their journey through the space? Do you care about their comfort? Do you care about their ears, their noses, their eyes? Because everything they experience is what you wanted them to experience or what you didn't care that they would experience. So everything, I keep saying this to a lot of people, everything that you experienced at our party was the promoters' either direct intention or lack of care, but knowledge of and not caring about.
But you've also done it a long time, so you've ran into things that gave you experience.
I've had some wonderful influencers in my day, some great people who, perhaps without knowing it, led me here. I definitely did not just pull shit out of my ass. I did not invent any of this. Everything I've done has been done in one shape or another. I'm just kind of regurgitating all the wonderful things that have been put out there already.
I had the pleasure to go to one of your parties, and what I thought was really cool, for every male that came in, there had to be a female. Mm-hmm. Where does that come from? Why do you do that?
That was a crazy idea I had that worked. I'd gotten rather fed up with running parties that would continually get overrun with gay men.
Uh-huh.
But I guess that's the thing in New York. Maybe I shouldn't complain about it.
We hate them. No.
No, we love the
love
gays.
the gays.
We love the gays because they pay full price tickets and they buy the drinks and they are the financial engine behind a lot of this work.
And know how to have a good time.
They sure do.
And have the time to go to the parties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of disposable income. The trouble with the gays, not all gay men, some gay men, especially the ones who ran around New York looking for high quality, good, fun events. The trouble is in the critical mass that these guys create when they reach something like 50, 60, 70% of capacity. This critical mass then explodes into the kind of behavior that I don't really want to see at these events, which is ignoring, pushing past through, running over women, people of color, or pretty much anyone who doesn't look like them.
Oh, really?
So that's what I hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want that. I don't like that. These are parties for everyone, not just the gay men, but they do have this tendency to take over spaces just by sheer volume. And then not physically, but sometimes physically to push everybody out. Not cute because black and brown people, women, non-binary people begin to feel that this isn't the party for them and they exit and they don't come back. This is not the kind of work that I want to put out in the world. My very extreme and tyrannical solution was to establish a be a woman, bring a woman rule, which is you must be a woman, which in and of itself is a very wide spectrum that is decided at the door, or bring a woman. And that caused quite the A bit of noise.
I mean, yeah, for the hype, it was great, but it was really cool because through that, we met really cool people online.
The point is for us not to make gay men feel unwelcome. That is not at all the goal here. The goal is to gently, I guess in this case, not very gently, educate gay men about maintaining friendships with women.
Yeah.
I am aware of many gay men in this town who don't have a single woman friend. I feel like they might be missing out.
No, definitely. But I do have something about that is I've had many girlfriends here, like friends, but at some point they get married and they move. That has happened with so many, they live in San Francisco, in the suburbs. That's the reason why I have more male friends than girlfriends, not because I don't like them.
Completely understandable. Same in my life also. There aren't that many women, not a lot, but I wish there were more. Mm-hmm. The point is to make an effort. Yeah. And by encouraging men to bring women with them to the party, maybe you have a friend whom you haven't called in a long time. Maybe it's a friend of a friend whom you'd like to invite to the party. And through the experience of being at this party, perhaps your relationship will grow stronger.
Yeah.
And we're just giving you the tools to make these things happen. Unfortunately, that's not how it was viewed initially. Many people did recognize that as such, and some didn't. But that's okay.
I thought it was brilliant. I saw it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would also, I guess, note that perhaps not every party can afford to make these kinds of choices at the door. And I understand and respect that. I'm not going to sit here and say that everyone should do that because I was worried if we were going to be able to pull that off.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely upped the hype. But, I mean, see, the devil is in those small details. But, what are other little details that matter a lot that other people might not know? And then, like sound, lighting, space, promoters, the flow of the space. What?
I think the most important thing at a party is sound.
Sound.
Yeah. If you don't have good sound, I'm walking out. Or difficult for me to stay. Well, it starts with sound. What is the point if you can't hear the music well, if it's rupturing your eardrums?
Yeah.
If it doesn't resonate with your body in a proper way?
I do not always put earplugs in.
You shouldn't. It's a good idea to do that. A good sound system doesn't necessarily always require you to do that if it's tuned properly and not overdriven.
Really?
I sometimes don't. If it's not just a crazy amount of noise,
Yeah.
you should be able to stand on the dance floor and have a conversation in front of a speaker with someone with a good sound system.
I do like sometimes standing in front of the sound system with earplugs and then you feel your whole body shaking.
That's a vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. But I wouldn't do that without earplugs.
Yeah, probably not.
No.
My half-baked take is usually that it's difficult typically to separate the promoter from the party. Not always, but in these 100% underground things where so much of the promoter's work is on display rather than an established club that invests everything that's done at that space with its own feeling and its own vibe, it's difficult to separate who's in charge of the space from what's happening in the space. You are always going to feel their vibe, or most always.
Oh, really? The one who throws it, yeah.
Yeah, if you're at one unnamed club, you will feel their vibe.
Yeah.
If you're at another unnamed club, you will feel their vibe and what those people are about, or collectively, or maybe sometimes individually.
Yeah.
I'm sometimes scared to think about what people are feeling at my stuff because they're feeling my vibe.
I mean, what do you feel yourself?
I've never been to these parties, so I can't tell.
You don't go to your own parties?
It's impossible for me to be there.
I've seen you walk around.
Yeah, but I'm there, of course, working,
Okay.
but I don't experience them.
Okay, you're just working.
It's impossible. I have never been to any of these parties. I can't. I get some small part of it. I see the excitement in people's eyes, or trouble, or frustration, or happiness, or exhilaration. I experience other people's experiences. But I can never step outside of that and dip right in and be just anonymous raver.
No.
Experience it at all. It's just, that's actually the tragedy of my life.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
It's nice. You should just go like incognito.
I do go in drag and people don't recognize me. It still doesn't work.
But is there for you like something deeper there, or something that makes it like meaningful beyond the party itself? I'll just be like, what I always have at your parties. I have that at a lot of parties, but I think about life a lot and I get really inspired. And then the next day I'll have all these notes of things that I wrote down. And that's not even, doesn't have to be about the party. It could be about life in general.
That happens to me a lot at other people's events.
Yeah, right?
I will stand on the back of the dance floor and resolve my trouble issues, come up with solutions for my things, and just veer off in several different directions and have, like I mentioned, solutions for stuff tomorrow. And I'll start resolving my stuff that I was thinking about last night at some party. I don't know how or why that works.
It does, right? Because you just see it from such a different angle, I think.
My best guess would be to say that at these events where you are contained in this impossible bubble that forgets or negates or very, very effectively pushes up the outside world against up the outside world, your mind is somehow allowed to float free and without trouble. And for a fleeting moment, your brain, your spirit is allowed to think freely without anxiety, fear, doubt, emptiness, despair. All of these things are shed, and you start to work on what troubles you most, what was at the forefront of your mind, or maybe in the back of your mind that you were scared to approach.
Yeah, yeah.
And you just start to resolve some stuff.
Yeah, no, it's really amazing. When did you start becoming an ally?
I was always hanging around queer kids because my entire life I've had trouble relating to straight men.
Oh yeah, why?
I don't know. It seemed like there's a lot of theater there.
Yeah.
And I'm still, of course, friends with lots of straight men from college, and that is an interesting question. Somehow communicating with gay men, queer women, period, was always just so much easier for me. And they were immediately so much easier predisposed to me to understanding what I need or want, and vice versa. It's just easy for me to communicate with queer people.
Yeah.
I found that early on. I fell in with a crowd of queer kids back in 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
Lots of people from this magazine and kids like Telfar and Shane Oliver back then who were like, unknown.
But you knew them
fashion
then?
Yeah, these were they were hanging around.
Through parties or through working?
Through parties. I also was a bartender, and I invited a lot of these people to come and throw parties at this bar that I was bartending at.
Where was that? Which bar?
I managed to get a Sunday shift at a place called Home Sweet Home back in those days, and it was dead. So I would just be there by myself, earning no money, no tips on Sundays. And I don't think I've ever told this story to anyone outside of my wife. I would just stand there behind the bar at an empty bar on Sundays. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I decided to approach the owner of the bar with this idea because I had already accumulated a bunch of promoter experience back then, but I was still poor and needed money. I offered to her to start organizing and promoting Sunday parties by myself, which would in turn, of course, help me to earn money.
Yeah,
of course, she said yes. Yeah. Please.
Yeah. It's like, hey, I have a way to bring people here.
And I reached out to 4 groups of people. So I organized 4 monthlies, and it was Telfar and Shane, these 2 really young, they were not even 21 back then. It was these young kids named Daniel and Mikey, who later on turned out to be Daniel Fisher, physical therapy, and Mickey Blanco.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They were friends back then. They were like 18 or something. And then Michael Magnan ended up having a night, and Fade to Mind, excuse me. Sorry. There was this new label from Boston, This guy Ezra organized the night, and it just blew through the roof. Immediately it was packed. I was making money. These parties were really fun. And that also helped me to insert myself into those circles in late 2000s.
Wow, so that had big impact.
It was fun. Yeah, Home Sweet Home was a black hole.
Yeah.
That place was wild.
So you learned a lot by doing it, right?
Yeah. One night I remember handing $700 or $800 to Shane, or was it $1,200? Some like obscene amount of money over to Shane and Telfar, and they were just like, they couldn't believe how much money they made DJing because it was a percentage of the bar ring.
Oh, cool.
And the bar rang crazy on that one night when they played. And that was a really good feeling. I get a really good feeling out of paying people good money.
Yeah. Okay, so queer nightlife has always been kind of in temporary places, right? So how is QNCC like a natural continuation of that?
Underground queer nightlife has been a thing in New York for many decades.
Mm-hmm.
It is the main driver of, I believe, underground queer nightlife in New York to be, and many other places, to be the main driver of mainstream culture. And many people at QNCC agree, and that's pretty much, it's one of the very few things, or many things, not many things that we align on, is this belief that underground queer nightlife is the main engine behind mainstream culture, and that it needs to be protected, promoted, supported, and given every tool to succeed.
Like a lot of things that become mainstream, they start in the underground party scene. Could you tell me about that?
Where do our designers get their inspirations from? Where do fashion designers, specifically interior designers, decorators, musicians, visual artists, writers, poets, architects, filmmakers, if you were to dip your toes into any well-established underground queer event series at any point between 70s, 80s, 90s, throughout 2000s, now, you would see a lot of people there who later, either currently then or later, went on to do some really exciting stuff.
Yeah. And is that what you want to do with the QNCC, like all of you? Can you tell me, how is it being organized?
It's a nonprofit that is, whose mandate is to support queer nightlife workers. Queer nightlife workers, not that I'm queer, but I'll throw myself in there just for the argument's sake.
Okay.
Are usually some of the most precaritized members of the workforce here in town. A lot of them are queer people of color, typically without any job security. As a nightlife worker, you might have this gig today. You probably may not have it next week or next month. To say nothing of health insurance. Like, nobody's giving that to you. This issue is also compounded by the notion that queer nightlife workers, or just nightlife workers in general, have very, very complicated hours. So they usually work at night, meaning by the time they come home, it's morning, they go to bed, or they need to get some rest, or they need to take care of household stuff, or maybe go to another job to make ends meet. It's very difficult for these people, and I am speaking from personal experience also, from my own experience and experience of people close to me. It's difficult to make arrangements for healthcare and mental health care, living that kind of lifestyle. The idea here is, if not create and site these kinds of services here in the building, then to at the very least make the connectivity between these people and the services that they need very easy and simple.
Wow, now that makes sense. Because you also mentioned like the taxes. People can get in trouble because they don't know how to do taxes.
Right, so tax advice, nightlife people are, again, just speaking for myself, usually just don't have the time or the inclination to handle all of that stuff. It's just really complicated. So to get professional advice from someone on how to handle your taxes, finances, especially through LLCs, which is really useful for nightlife workers, would be fabulous to have that sort of service
Yeah.
in the building.
Yeah. And why does like hands-on mentorship matter that much in the scene?
For many years, I've seen so many kids come on board, get in, and take years to learn the craft, the trade that they really want to get into, like lighting, sound. Why not have classes led by our residents, lighting, sound, production, installation residents? Teach these people these skills, really marketable, well-paid skills, in a setting that will help them to acquire this knowledge really quickly.
Yeah.
And also have a support network of people that they can rely on to come back to for questions, recommendations, and so on. But also speaking within the context of where this place is located.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. Why East New York?
I was certainly not going to do this in Bushwick or Williamsburg, that has cultural venues on every block and is probably of no help to the community around it. It really makes sense to site this center. Not necessarily maybe like a club, which is this isn't. That would not make sense here. What makes sense here in this neighborhood is a nonprofit that offers mental health care, healthcare resources, work development programs to communities that surround this place, because Brownsville and East New York are the most disinvested from communities in New York.
Yeah.
Certainly by far, there's just nothing here. There are no cultural institutions here. Very few nonprofits that are able to redistribute resources into the community. Certainly nothing like this.
Like, what is the QNCC?
It's a cultural hub. It's a place that is built in mind with queer nightlife workers, but also with an eye towards our surrounding community here in East New York. It's a nonprofit that really supports and protects queer underground nightlife arts and queer underground nightlife artists.
Okay.
That is a demographic that we feel has gotten no protection, no support ever in the past from any organization, governmental or otherwise. And it is a demographic that sorely needs support and help. It is a demographic that feeds us culture, that produces things that change our lives, that forces us to look at each other in different ways at these events and see each other and see ourselves reflected in the faces of others. These people change our lives through their work. Why shouldn't they get the support that they deserve?
And you were talking about the organization. Who's the organization of the QNCC?
So it's me and this person named Michael Falco.
Mm-hmm.
We
love him.
Yeah, Michael is my brother, them. And so I am the creative director. Michael is the executive director. Michael is the nonprofit brain. I am something else, I guess, the rest. And then there's a very, very amazing, very, really incredible group of people that we call the executive board. And there's also the creative advisors board.
Yes.
So there are people from the creative world, people like Telfar, Juliana Huxtable, Desiree Santiago, Julio Torres, Nida Aviance, on and on, all these fabulous names that are in concentric circles around queer nightlife, have either deeply contributed to queer nightlife or derived from and given back to queer nightlife. Those people will and are now already advising us on how to handle these things programmatically. And they also give us a lot of, thank God, they give us a lot of legitimacy, because who the hell knows this Seva guy or this Michael guy, but everyone knows who Nida Aviance is or who Juliana Huxtable is. And early on, it was really important to us to have their blessing, kind of like their involvement.
Yeah. People do believe in you. More people know you than you think.
Good, right?
Yeah.
I guess good.
How does the QNCC give like a feeling of belonging for people from the neighborhood, but also the queer community?
The goal is for this place to become a home for both. Well, a home for queer nightlife workers and a massive hub of resources for the local community. Community organizing efforts also. There's one of the very important things that we're going to do for the surrounding community is to offer our space for their communal needs. So places like the community board or other nonprofits will come in and utilize the space for their needs. There's not a single venue in the neighborhood that, for example, a local queer Black theater could use as a venue. So they've been staging their productions in Bed-Stuy or Crown Heights, stuff like that. It's just by having a massive space that is an event space, an events venue, we could do a lot for the surrounding community.
Yeah, amazing.
There's nothing here like that.
No. Okay, what could make QNCC like meaningful and successful in the long run? Like when do you see it as a success?
Support. Support from the concentric communities that we've engaged through the nonprofit. It has really been an incredible and very humbling exercise in coalition building. We've had to get a lot of people in the room that would otherwise probably not be in the same room to agree on this. I'm talking from the police precinct to the community board to the city council member, the local community, to nightlife office from the mayor's office, to queer nightlife workers, to healthcare workers, to foundations, private funders, architects, visual artists, musicians, DJs, actors, Broadway producers.
So how'd you get all these people together?
Just ask and explain to them the importance of this project and compel them to believe in why this is so important. And they all seem to be in agreement. The project makes sense.
Yeah.
Nothing like that has existed before. The city really needs it. Our communities really need it. Lots of people from all kinds of different walks of life agree. These spaces really represent and stand for a lot of personal freedom. Freedom from aggressive security, freedom from being in an overcrowded, packed, uncomfortable space, freedom from even your own judgment of yourself.
Yeah.
When you see people really, truly let go and have fun and find comfort in themselves, you may very well do so yourself.
Yeah.
There's something happens in these places where these people I don't generate the energy that happens at these places. It's the people who come here who do. We just create and tweak the tools and the space to which we invite them. But the energy, the vibe, if you will, is generated by these people. And what they bring here is what really actually matters. That's what erases boundaries. That's what destroys barriers between people. That's when they look at each other. Also, maybe brighter lighting so you can see other people.
Yeah, yeah.
And not this dark, foggy shit. I'm just like, well, that works. But if you really want to meet people and feel the excitement of, a solid 1,000 people around you, maybe brighten it up a bit.
Yeah.
But not necessarily. That's what's working for me. It's really important for people to see one another in these environments and feel the freedom that others are feeling in order to shed a lot of the frustrations, fears, and pain, really, that people go through and experience in the outside world. What we're doing here is creating little bubbles of impossibility. That's our job. We create little worlds that last for 12, 16 hours, and then they burst and you're thrown out there in the real world again. But what you take with you is priceless.
Yeah.
Is the promise of a possibility of a different world, of being together in a different way, of a different mode of relating to one another. Not fear, not doubt, not anxiety, not suspicion, but openness and interest and excitement. And that's what these spaces do.
So, and And what are things that you have done that are specific to you?
If I might be better than average at picking people who are good at their jobs and giving them tools to succeed within these environments, paying them well, listening to what they want to accomplish, and aligning my interests with theirs. It's just, and it's yet another exercise in coalition building. You have to build this team of people who are really different from one another.
Yeah.
And try to channel their efforts, attention, and talents into one direction. I don't know how that's done, actually. That sounds frightening.
No, but it's true. And that's what we just talked about, what you're also going to do with the QNCC.
Right, QNCC is that. It's just that's what a promoter does, honestly. I'm just a pretty okay promoter. Promoter's job is getting people people to go from no to yes.
Yeah.
That's what a promoter does. And I'm going to run with this word, promoter.
Great.
That was a really exciting thing, cool thing to be in the 90s, but then it kind of acquired all this slimy connotation, which I disagree with.
Why? Why did it get?
Well, Giuliani destroyed the club scene, the club world, and all these big dance clubs went away because the federal government, in cahoots with the Giuliani administration, basically went after the club scene. And once those guys were jailed or exiled to Canada, what filled the void was bottle service clubs, smaller to medium-sized bottle service clubs that the administration and the federal government were okay with, because instead of doing maybe a Somali or something, people were just drinking
Tequila, and that was allowed. Yeah.
But for bottle service clubs to exist, what they came up with was a bottle service club promoter. So that promoter was completely different. That's not a promoter who organized this giant group of people into a production team and thought about installations and lights and sound and bookings and staff. These new club promoters brought hot chicks to the club, literally models. They would get paid to bring good-looking girls to the club, and they would get a bottle and a table.
Yeah.
And that became the New York City 90s. I remember going to these places and going, what the fuck is going on? This is crazy. That's what gave the word promoter the sleaziness, the unfortunate factor. And I am fighting this one-man battle to bring it back. Promoter is cool. It's cool to be a promoter.
It's cool to be a promoter.
Bring it back.
Yeah. The OG promoter.
Right.
Were you here in the time of Giuliani?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden everything got closed.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
People went to jail. People we know.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they still in there?
No, it was more often than not just a 1 year stint. But, a 1 year in jail will fuck you up.
Yeah.
And these people kind of never really, they came out different.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awful. Did that open doors for the underground or not?
I don't remember. There were these things called the storm raves.
Okay.
That were happening. I was too young to get into nightlife back then. I went to these places and was like, maybe that's not for me.
So does underground fuel mainstream or vice versa?
I hope not vice versa, but that's been the case for sure. I see a lot of ideas trickling into the underground from the mainstream, and it's regrettable.
Like what?
Fashion, language, stupidity.
How are those negative? Stupidity, I get, but what's fashion?
They're just regurgitations of past shitty ideas. They're nothing really original or cool and fun. That's
what
just my opinion.
Yeah, but how does fashion trickle in, and what does it do? I just don't understand how.
If you go to YouTube and start watching some videos from the 90s, like some 90s club videos, 90s rave videos from some underground stuff, people look different.
Yeah,
people dress differently, fun, cute, creative, differently. You stand outside a club now and kids file out, you might as well just...
Everybody wears black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Some people turn out crazy looks, and I love the kids for it. Especially some of the kids who come to the underground stuff. There's some regrettable things happening for sure as well. That's okay. We'll get over it.
Yeah. And then, okay, but things that trickle, because like you said, there are a lot of really cool outfits, and a lot of that does go into mainstream. Yeah. I'm sure people look online for photos.
There have been a couple of really fascinating examples recently in our lives, in the lives of my team and me and people I know, where more mainstream-oriented people have lifted looks from my friends and put them on Instagram and started wearing them and were clocked. And that's, I'm pleased to see that, honestly, while some other people may be a little displeased, I guess. Or
well, yeah, because on one way it's fun to inspire people, but on the other way, like if a big corporation all of a sudden does it, they make a lot of money for it.
They'll do. That's okay. I don't think that's anything to worry about. That means that we're doing our job.
Totally. And hopefully with the QNCC, there will be a way to maybe commercialize things that are thought of.
Sure. I am thinking of a couple of people right now that I would like to engage here in this building, and maybe they'll get some more attention.
Yeah.
Because they're super talented.
Yeah.
A lot of people I know are really talented. They're just bogged down with having to pay rent. Just under the weight of so many things that low-income individuals in this town have to deal with.
Yeah.
Forgetting or not really working too much on their artistic practices, which they should be working on, but they can't or they don't because time, space, money.
Yeah. Okay, maybe finish the line for me. Nightlife makes culture, ...
Real.
Yeah.
Queer, underground, queer nightlife injects massive doses of reality into mainstream culture, into culture as we know it. That's where real new stuff comes from. You can't create culture in a museum. You don't create culture at a gallery or at a movie theater. That's where culture is regurgitated and consumed. In my and some of my friends' subjective views, real culture is created in the underground. That's where original ideas come from. And everyone else just picks up on it. And that's how the world works. And that's totally fine, except that the people who create it need more support.
Yes.
Resources must be redirected towards them, away from these beasts that hover above us and pick up on things that people I know create.
Do you have anything else that you're like, that's something I want to say?
I just want all eyes on QNCC. I want this project to get all the attention that it deserves. I want people who have been looking for interesting, promising, culturally impactful ideas to get in touch with us. We have a lot to offer, not just to New York, but to this country. This project can be replicated in many other cities and should be replicated. We are eager to talk to anyone who is interested and willing to help us get this off the ground and running.
Amazing. How can they get in touch?
I'm the only Seva on Instagram.
Okay, great.
Really easy to find. Yeah,
right. Yeah. So reach out and help out.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
This was fun. Get to know you better.
Yeah.